Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something pretty critical. The system that makes sure the medical devices we all rely on are, well, perfect, safe, effective, and built to perfection every single time.
Just look at this. This isn't even the whole picture. It's just a fraction of what goes into designing a life-saving device. I mean, you've got market analysis over here, crazy regulatory hurdles. Then on the other side, you've got intense engineering, clinical trials. It's a universe of complexity. So how on earth do you make sure that a process this intricate results in a product that is flawless and safe every single time?
Well, the answer is something called a quality management system, or, QMS for short. Think of it as the master plan, the rule book, and the ultimate safety net all rolled into one. It's the system that makes sure nothing is left to chance. Because, let's be real, when someone's health is on the line, you can't afford to guess.
Let's use an analogy. Imagine you're building a massive skyscraper. You wouldn't just start stacking bricks, right? No way. First, you need a super detailed blueprint. That's your quality planning. Then, as the steel beams and concrete arrive, you have to inspect every single piece. That's quality control. And finally, you need supervisors on site, making sure the process, the way the builders are actually putting it all together, is being followed perfectly. And that is quality assurance.
Okay, so let's break that down. It all starts with that blueprint, right? In the world of medical devices, we call that quality planning. This is where you lay the entire foundation for success. And this is so crucial. Before a single screw is ordered, before any design is finalized, this is where you map everything out. You're defining every standard, every goal, every single responsibility. You're basically answering the big questions. What are we actually building? Who is this for? What quality standards do we have to meet? And, maybe most importantly, who is responsible for what? Every piece of the puzzle gets an own.
All right, so the blueprint is set. Now the journey of the actual product can begin, and that means you're bringing in materials. But how do you know if the stuff you're getting is any good? That's where that second pillar we talked about, quality control, steps in.
Think of quality control as the tough-as-nails gatekeeper. It stands guard at 3 supercritical stages of production, and its job is to inspect the physical product itself. And this isn't just a one-and-done check at the very end. No, it's a whole series of checkpoints designed to catch any problems as early as possible.
Now, that first stage, incoming inspection, you could argue it's the most important one. This is where every single raw material, every tiny component that comes from a supplier gets put through the ringer. It's rigorously tested before it's even allowed on the factory floor. The whole idea is to stop problems before they start. Because if you start with bad ingredients, you're going to end up with a bad product. It's that simple. And one faulty component, it could ruin the whole device.
And here's the tangible proof. This report, it isn't just a simple checklist. It's the physical evidence that every single part meets the exact specification. It's the start of a paper trail, a chain of evidence, proving that everything was verified right from the get-go.
Okay, so checking the parts is one thing, but that's not enough. You also have to make sure the way you're putting those parts together, the process itself, is perfect. And that brings us to our third pillar, quality assurance.
And this is a really key distinction to get. People mix these two up all the time. Quality control is reactive. It's about finding defects in the product. But quality assurance is proactive. It's about looking at the entire system, the entire process, and trying to prevent those defects from ever even happening. See the difference? One finds mistakes, the other tries to stop them from being made.
So if QC is the gatekeeper inspecting the parts, the QA team is more like the master supervisor, watching over the whole factory. Their job is to make sure the entire manufacturing system is consistent, that it's repeatable, and that it's designed from the ground up to produce a perfect result every time. They're the ones gathering user needs, writing the test plans, and working hand in hand with engineers to tweak and perfect the process, making the whole system strong. Okay, so the device is fully assembled. It's gone through all the in-process checks. The QA team is giving the thumbs up on the system. We're ready to ship, right? Well, not so fast. There's one final gatekeeper to get past.
This final inspection is the absolute last line of defense. But it's so much more than just a quick last-minute check. This is where you validate the integrity of the entire system. You're running functional tests, performance tests. Basically, you're proving that everything we've talked about, the planning, the control, the assurance, all of it worked together perfectly, just like it was designed to.
Now, it's really important to understand that all of this, it's not just a bunch of good ideas or best practices. These processes are actually mandated. They're required by a global standard that governs the entire medical device industry. And that standard is called ISO 13485.
Just think of it as the official international rulebook. If you want to make medical devices, you have to follow it, period. It's how companies prove to regulators all over the world that their products are consistently safe and effective. It is absolutely not optional. It is the price of entry into this industry.
And a core, fundamental principle of this standard is documentation. I mean, meticulous, almost obsessive documentation. The golden rule in any QMS is simple. If it wasn't written down, it didn't happen. And trust me, this isn't just about creating paperwork for the sake of it. This is about traceability. It's what allows an engineer 5 or 10 years from now to look back and know exactly how a specific device was made if a problem ever comes up.
A great example of this is the SOP, or Standard Operating Procedure. This is basically a step-by-step instruction manual for a specific task. And its purpose is to make sure that everyone, whether it's the new hire on day one or a veteran with 20 years of experience, does that critical task the exact same way, every single time. It takes all the guesswork out of the equation. And then you have something called the master formula. This is another critical piece of paper. The best way to think about it is like the master recipe for the device. It lists out every single material, every precise quantity, every piece of equipment, every single step in the process. Why? To guarantee that a device you build today is 100% identical to one you build 5 years from now. Perfect consistency.
So you see, these records are so much more than just paperwork. They are the legal and technical proof that a device was made the right way. And they have to be stored securely and be retrievable for the entire lifetime of that device. We're talking years, even decades. This creates a complete history that can be pulled up and audited at a moment's notice, especially if a patient's safety ever comes into question.
But look, a great system can't be static. You don't just build a good QMS, dust off your hands, and walk away. It has to be a living, breathing thing. It has to learn, it has to adapt, and it has to constantly evolve.
So how do you get better? Well, you need data. And that data comes from doing regular internal audits and management reviews. The whole point of these is to actively hunt for something called nonconformities. That's just a fancy word for any time the process didn't follow the plan. But here's the thing, finding one isn't a failure, not at all. It's an opportunity to get better.
And this whole philosophy of always getting better is often driven by a simple but powerful idea, the PDSA cycle. It stands for plan, do, study, act. So you plan a change to fix that nonconformity you found. Then you do it. You actually implement the change. Then you study the data. Did it work? Did it make things better? And finally, you act on what you learned. You either standardize the new way or you tweak it and start the cycle all over again. It's a constant loop of improvement.
And this is what that data can look like. This chart is so telling because it shows you exactly where the system's weak points are. When you start tracking this stuff, you see the real stress points. And what's really fascinating, to me at least, is that the biggest problems often aren't in the physical manufacturing itself. Look at this. They're in record control and process management, the very documentation and systems we've been talking so much about. Which really brings us to the final takeaway. Building a safe, life-saving medical device isn't just about having a brilliant idea or amazing engineering. It's about a relentless, documented, and constantly improving pursuit of perfection.